Hello students, I hope each one of you has a very special thing to which you treasure. It could be anything, a book, a pen, even a chocolate wrapper or toys. It could be anything, a ball, right? And we treasure, we cherished it, we protect it, we save it, and we conserve it like a treasure. We treasure it. Why we treasure it? Because we have so much affection towards that particular thing. It gives us a sense of belonging, that no, this thing belongs only to you or only to me, and no other items, no other things will give us the same pleasure than that particular thing that to which you are treasuring right now. Here in this poem, the ball poem, there is a boy who has lost his ball. He was playing with his favorite ball, and this special, his favorite cherished ball skipped from his hand and went into the nearby water body. And what happened next? We could easily understand that the boy must have cried for hours. He must felt guilty for his stupidity, that he has made stupid mistakes. And we also might have lost our favorite things as well in our life, and we learn something from it. And what we learn, to be responsible towards whatever, to whom or to which we are cherishing, to which we are admiring. The same message is going to convey here in this poem, the ball poem, which was written by John Berryman. You can see the picture here, the left side of your screen. He was an American poet and a scholar. He is best known for the Dream Songs, which was published in 1969, and it is a sequence of 385 poems. Okay, so Dream Songs is the sequence of 385 poems are there. They are collected in this under this title of this book, Dream Songs. And he also won the Pulitzer Prize award for the same creation, for the same book, that is the Dream Songs. And he has also won this National Book Award. Okay, so let's start the poetry. The ball poem. What is the boy now who has lost his ball? What is he to do? I saw it go, merrily bouncing down the street and then merrily over. There it is in the water. Okay. So what is the boy now who has lost his ball? So now the boy, look at the boy, how he is, who has lost his ball. So the boy has lost his ball, and look at him right now, how he is. What is he to do? What is he doing? I saw it go merrily bouncing down the street and then merrily over. Now the narrator is observing this boy. So he has seen the ball which was bouncing, that means jumping up and down. So the ball was merrily, very cheerful, in a very cheerful manner, in a very happily. So the ball was very happily, merrily bouncing down the street and up there, over there. And now there it is in the water. So now the ball is in the water. So it was skipped. So this line says that the boy was playing with that ball, but it was skipped from the hands of this little boy, and that is the reason that the ball was merrily bouncing down the street and the boy couldn't catch it back. And then it goes on that the water body which was nearby that street. So the poet in this stanza, he is talking about a boy who has lost his ball and he wants to know about him and his reactions. Then what is boy doing? What is he to do? Okay, so what is the boy doing? And further he says that he asked to himself that what this boy will do after losing his ball. The poet has seen the ball going away from the boy, and he says that the ball was very cheerfully jumping up and down in that street, bouncing in that street. And this means that when the ball was skipped from this boy's hand, it went into the street and later on it just fell into that nearby river. Right. No use to say, oh, there are other balls. An ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy as he stands rigid, trembling, staring down all his young days into the harbor where his ball went. I would not intrude on him. A dime, another ball is worthless. Now he senses first responsibility. So here the poet says that it is of no use if I say that, oh, there are other balls. If the poet want to console that boy that you might have other balls, don't grieve over that a small ball. You might have many balls. There are so many balls. You can play with any of them. No need to cry for that. No need to weep for that. No need to grieve for that. But an ultimate shaking grief that means sorrow, which fixes the boy. The boy has lost his cherished ball. Now it was lost. So he is in ultimate shaking grief. He is so much in pain. He is in sorrow. As he stands rigid, trembling, staring down all his young days into the harbor where his ball went. So he was just staring down at the harbor where the ball is lost. He was standing there very rigidly. Rigidly, that means in a very fixed. So he is staying still. He was not moving. He was staying still. He was standing still. So the boy was standing there very rigidly. He was trembling. He was shaking, and he was staring down at the harbor where he has lost his ball. Harbor, that means a dock or a port, which are there nearby that river or a water body. I would not intrude on him. Intrude, that means invader. I would not intrude on him a dime, another ball. Dime, that means 10 cents in US. So it's a US currency. Is worthless. So now the poet is saying that I will not intrude on him, because it is sure that if I if I have to buy another ball, it would cost me only 10 cents. Dime, it will cost me only dime. But I will not do that thing. I will not help him. I will not intrude on him, because it is worthless. Why it is worthless? Because the ball which the poet will help him to buy, it will not give him the same experience, it will not give him the same memories, the sense of belongings like the lost one. So it is totally worthless. And that is the reason that I will not invade in his personal life. And now this boy senses his first responsibility. So the boy will learn to be responsible towards the beloved thing, towards its possessions. Right? So boy will learn to be responsible. If he has something or someone, then he should cherish it. He should cherish them. If he is not able to protect it, he is not able to be responsible for it, then it is worthless. So the boy should learn the lesson. So here in this stanza, the poet says that there is no benefit of consoling the boy by saying that he will get another ball, because he has other balls too. He says so because the boy is feeling very sad, and he is completely surrounded by sorrow. Why the boy is very sad? Because all the memories of the childhood days went down into that harbor where the ball has gone. Here the poet says that the boy is very sad as the ball which has now gone into that water, which reminds him of those sweet memories of the time when he owned it. And this loss is unbearable for the child, and he is a grief stricken. The poet says that he can't even tell the boy to take some money from him in order to buy another ball. It cost is only a dime, 10 cents only. But he could not do so, because the new ball will not bring the sense of belonging to the boy. It will not give the same feelings, because the boy was attached with the old ball. And the poet says further that the time has come for the boy that he has to learn the responsibility of taking care of his things. Right? In a world of possessions, people will take balls. Balls will be lost always, little boy. And no one buys a ball back. Money is external. He is learning well behind his desperate eyes the epistemology of loss, how to stand it, knowing what every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand. Okay, so in a world of possessions means ownership. So the people own many things, so people have so many possessions. So it is the materialistic world. So in this materialistic world, in this the world of the possessions, people will take balls. So people will always bought a ball. They buy a ball, and that balls be always lost, and anyone could lose the ball. It's not a big deal. He is consoling this little boy that this world is a materialistic world, and People will always buy a ball or any kind of thing, and they will always be lost. Here the ball here the ball means any belonging. It doesn't go merely the ball, it could be anything. So people will buy many things, they have many possessions like this ball that little one had. Okay, so people have so many possessions, and they all possessions, these all belongings will be lost, and no one buys a ball back. And if once the ball is lost, if once the possessions or belonging is the loss, no one buy it back. Money is external. External here, that means it is the things which can which feelings are not attached. Money is external. We are not we haven't any attached feelings with this money. We are not attached to it. Money is nothing for us. What is important for us? The belonging, the possessions, the belonging to which we possess, right? So it is important, not money. So money is very external. We don't have any kind of feelings towards it. He is learning well behind his desperate eyes. So now the boy is learning his lesson, the life lesson, from well behind his desperate eyes. Desperate, that means hopeless. The boy eyes are hopeless. So the boy is learning with his hopeless eyes. Why hopeless? Because the ball went into that river, and now there is no way to get back to that ball. So the boy's eyes were desperate, it is hopeless, and he is learning from the same desperate eyes, from the same hopeless eyes. What is he learning? The epistemology of loss. Epistemology, it means, it is the Greek word, it means the knowledge. The boy is learning the knowledge of the loss, how to stand up, knowing what every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand up. And now he is learning this knowledge of loss and how to stand up, and he knows that every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand. So every man has to learn in his or her life the harsh truth of standing up against the misery. If someone has lost something, the life doesn't stop there. We have to come over it. We have to stand up. It could take one day, it could take many days, but somehow we have to get back to our scheduled life, get back to our real life. We'll have to come to the reality. We can't waste our life into that grief, right? So in the second stanza here, the poet says that the boy has to learn that in this materialistic world, many of his belongings will be lost. He personifies the ball as his belongings, not just a merely ball, but many things are there to whom this boy can possess, and they all can be lost. So he says that he has to learn to live without them, without these belongings, no matter what. He says no one can buy back such things for him, because the poet said these things because according to this poet, money can't buy you everything, whatever you think, whatever you desire. It couldn't buy everything. If it does buy you some materialistic thing, still it will not be able to buy this sense of belongingness, right? If you have money, you can buy many balls like the same one, but it could not give the same belongingness, the same affections, right? The same feelings which we have felt with the lost one. He says that the boy is learning how to stand up against the sense of lost things. This means that the boy is trying to learn the real truth of the life, which states that you have to accept the miseries of the life and stand up again. This is the truth which everyone has to learn in his or her life. The harsh truth of standing up against the odd miseries of the life that everyone has to bear. Okay, so I hope you understand this poem. It is a bit, it has a very deep meaning. Okay, let's just revise this poem. What is it all about? So this poem is about the losing something which we love and then learning to grow up. It is about a little boy who in his young life for the first time is learning what it is to experience grief after the loss of much beloved possessions, which here it is merely a ball. Maybe for us the loss of a ball is a minor consequences. It's not a big deal for us. Our natural reactions may be that still there are many more balls, so no need to worry. But here to this little boy, this is something different. One cannot get another ball with a very less amount of the money. And money is external and immortal here, as it cannot buy back the love, the affection, the belongingness, and hence it cannot replace the things that we love. Here in this poem, the boy's ball van is easily personifying with his young days and which were happy and innocent. People may take balls just as they will take away our innocence and force us to grow up soon. And once we lose our innocence, then we cannot get it back. But despite of this, we have to learn to stand up. Obviously we need to be strong and get on with our life, irrespective of the sadness inside. So this is the only way on which we can survive. Therefore we have to learn to accept and let go. The people has made the use of the imagery. The poet has used the imagery, figure of speech, while poetic devices, right? So he has used this imagery while telling how the ball personifies the spirit of the boy's childish innocence. We are talking the moral of the poem, right? Not the literary meanings, metaphorical meaning. So this poet has used this imagery, and he tells he even personifies the ball, the spirit of the boys, with the spirit of the boy's childish innocence. We may visualize how the spirit of this little boy, like the ball, is sinking into the dark water of the harbor. Earlier, the same ball was merrily bouncing. It was the boy's young childish innocence. It was also bouncing with happiness, with merriness. But now we can visualize that how the same spirit of this little boy, like the ball, is sinking into the dark water of the harbor. And as it drifts farther away, the little boy will learn to grow up, and that part is linked to that ball grows up as well until it is no longer a little boy. Thus, the reader may interpret this poem literally and metaphorically both. Okay, so literally it is the ball which was lost and we could not buy the same ball. That's the thing, because we don't have that much affections with that ball. Metaphorically, if we discuss about the poem, then the ball is compared, it is personified with the child, young boy's child's, this young child's innocent spirit. And this world is the world metaphoric. In this materialistic world, if we lost something, then we can never get it back. We have to grow up. We have to come out of it. And we have to deal with this loss of, it could be our loved things or the people, or with our innocence. So this poem successfully describes how we may feel to lose something that we love and grow up eventually without it. I hope you like the poem. So we'll talk about the figure of speech now. In the first stanza, there is the use of anaphora. Now what is anaphora? Anaphora is a use of repeated words. So repetition, in another terms we can say anaphora. Two or more lines. Sorry. Okay, so look at this. What is the boy now? What? And merrily bouncing. So merrily word is repeating here. What is repeating here. Look at these words. So this is the use of anaphora. Which figure of poetic device is used here? Anaphora. Okay, repetition of the word two or more, twice or more than twice. Next is assonance, repetition of the vowel sound. It could be anywhere in the word. Vowel O sound. Boy, over, now, who, lost. Right. So O sound is repeating more than twice. Next, imagery. As we talked earlier, that when the poet says merrily bouncing down the street, it is the use of imagery. Now here the boy's innocence is also, the boy's spirit is also merrily, we can feel imagery. That means we can visualize the picture through our five senses. It could be nose, it could be eyes, it could be taste, it could be our skin touch, right? It could be our ears. We can listen from it. So we can see the picture with this boy. So ball is merrily bouncing down into the street. So we can visualize these things. So it is the use of imagery. In the dust of the snow, there is the imagery, right? In the fire and the ice, use of imagery. In the dust of the snow also. Okay, repetition. What is repeated here, right? What, right? Okay, there is a slight difference between these anaphora repetitions. If the same word is repeating in the same line, that is the repetition. If the same word is repeated in two or more than two lines, then it is the use of anaphora. Okay. In the examination, as I talked earlier, you will get the options, so no need to worry. Okay, so in the second stanza, there is again the repetition is there, use of ball. Look at the word ball. You will find the repetition there. Ball is repeating here. Here also ball is there. You will find number of more than twice it is used there, right? Next is, it is the bit new one, that is ascendaton. And no use of conjunctions in the sentence. If there is no use of conjunctions in the sentence, though it is required, but there is no use of conjunctions in the sentence, that means it is the use of ascendaton. For example, a dime another ball is worthless. Okay, a dime is the money, another ball is worthless, so no use of conjunction is not used here. So that is the reason it is the use of ascendaton. Okay, next, in the last stanza there is a use of alliteration. You can see in the third line, buys ball back, b sound is repeating, buys ball back, b sound is repeating. Then there is a use of assonance, the vowel sound a, he is repeating. For example, he is learning while behind his desperate eyes. So e sound is repeating, e vowel sound is repeating more than twice. That is the use of assonance. Repetition, again ball is repeating. Look at this, balls, right? Ball. Okay, and the rhyme scheme, here there is a no rhyme scheme. Look at this word, take, boy, external, eyes, up, no, up. Okay, last two lines we can say this one is rhyming, otherwise there is no rhyming. So it is the completely free verse, there is no rhyme scheme. Okay, if there is no rhyme scheme, we could say it is a free verse. That means poetry, so it is a free verse, there is no rhyme scheme. Shakespeare used this free verse in his drama or poetry writing. Okay, so here I have some questions, answers, and both are given on your screen. You can we'll see it one by one. What message does John Barrowman want to convey through this poem? So this the message that the poet wants to convey here is the importance of loss and responsibility of the life. So this is what the message it conveys here, the importance of the loss and the responsibility in life. We should not forget the importance of our possessions, and we should be responsible in our life, right? So this is what the message that the poet John Barrowman wants to convey here. Okay, how does the boy feel at the loss of his ball? So the boy is very much troubled at the loss of his ball, right? He is in a grief. His ball fell in the water and he is much upset, as he is a long association with the ball, as he is much affectionate with that ball, right? He is attached with that ball, so he is feeling very grief, he is feeling sorrowful, he is shaking with the fear, he is trembling, right? Money is external. What does the poet means by these expressions? So money is external. He makes the boy understand about his responsibility, as the loss is immaterial. We could not buy our loss back. He can purchase another ball. He explained that the world is full of possessions and money is an external item. The world is full of possession, it is a materialistic world. And money is external. We can buy many things, we can get we can get the feelings of belongings with it, but it would not give the same feelings, same affections which we have lost. Okay, now these are the textual questions which are there in your textbook. Why does the poet say, I would not intrude on him. Why doesn't he offer him money to buy another ball? So the poet wants the boy to experience the loss. Why the poet says this line? Because the poet wants the same boy to experience the loss so he could learn in his life, the part of his life, the part of the life. That's why the poet doesn't want to interfere the boy and doesn't want to offer him money to buy another ball. The boy must have to learn to be responsible, right? And that's the reason that the poet doesn't doesn't offer him money to buy another ball. Staring down all his days into the harbor where his balls went, do you think the boy has had the ball for a long time? It is linked to the memories of the days when he played with it. Of course, yes, of course, the boy has had the ball for a long period of time, that is since his childhood, it could be, right? And it is linked with the memories of days when he played with it, right? And that is the reason he feels grief for it. Okay, next question. What does in the world of possessions means? In the world of possessions means that people like to possess all sorts of things in the world. Money is very external because it can buy only material object and it cannot buy everything that one loses. We could get new things, but we could not get back the same thing, the same person that we have lost. Do you think the boy has lost anything earlier? Next question. Pick out the word that suggests the answer. The answer is no, because the boy hasn't lost anything earlier, because he senses his first, look at this line, he senses the first responsibility. So if he had lost something earlier, that it could be he learned that thing earlier, so it could not be the first responsibility for him, right? So of course no is the answer. What does the poet says the boy what does the poet say the boy is learning from the loss of the ball? Try to explain this in your own words. Okay, the poet says that the boy is learning to cope up with the loss of the ball. He is experiencing the grief and the learning to grow up in this world of possessions. He learns that there are so many things in the life that are to be lost and cannot be bought back. It is useless to feel sorrow for it, right? So what is that poet, the boy has to learn to cope up, to deal with the loss of that particular thing, the ball here. And the boy is experiencing the grief and he is learning to grow up in this world of possessions, in this materialistic world. He learns that there are so many things in this life that it could be, we can lose people. With the line was that people take balls and the ball lost always. So through that line the poet says that there are so many things in the life and we buy it, we take it, and we can also be these things can also be lost and it cannot be brought back, because it is useless to feel it is very useless to feel sorrow for it. We could not get the same experience, same feelings from the new one. Have you ever lost something you liked very much? Write a paragraph describing how you felt when and saying whether and how you got over your loss. So you have to write this answer by yourself. You write your own experience. I hope you enjoy this poem. Thank you very much.